You said, ow! And I said, what? And you said, do it again. And I said, oh, you want an encore. Bum, 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 bum. I bought an Encore a long time ago. And now the Encore 2 has come out, not just 6 months ago. I'm so topical. Like a hemorrhoid cream. Yeah, it's confusing. Do you know why it's confusing? Because they look quite the same. It's a cube. But a slightly bigger cube, but it weighs less. We'll get to that in a minute, would ya? Yeah. All right, well, a minute would be pretty good for you, Al. You ain't wrong there, son. Right, that is the Encore 1. This is the Encore 2. For me, quickly looking, do you know how I know? Because it's written on it, Al. No, it's not written on it. Because it just says PARTYBOX on the top. It's got a flippy yet. It's got a floppy one. We've got a floppy one. That's what she said. She did. She said, you got a floppy one. And I said, I'm not as young as I used to be. Got a floppy one. I don't know what is it. It feels like plastic. They're not claiming leather. Oh, by the way, I didn't even know. It says JBL underneath it. As though you didn't know. Why would I hide it down there? That's really weird. Oh, because it's JBL PARTYBOX. Start as you mean to go on. Confused. Oh, by the way, someone said to me, hello, Al. They do that when I meet them. But someone said to me on the comments, and they said, oh, we only watched your video because of the clickbait wig. Oh, blimey. I've only been doing it for 5 years. It's finally worked. Boom, dee, boom, boom. Most people don't even say. It's like it's absolutely normal. Why are you wearing a wig, Al? Oh, apparently it's clickbait. Do you know, I'm not even that clever. I never actually thought I'd get more. I don't know. Is it working? Or is it just adding to my reputation of being a little bit not quite all there, but never mind. Where were you? On the table. Right, so that's a solid plastic one. Right, it's the Encore 2 versus the Encore 1. And I'm going to actually do the differences between the Encore 2 and the Encore 1. Because some of it is quite confusing. And by the way, oh, do you ever go on Reddit, Al? Yes, I am that geezer. And sometimes I read, can you advise me on the JBL Encore? How's the bass? And how's the bass compared to the older one? Sometimes they say, it's got way more bass than the old one. And then sometimes someone say, no, the new one's got less bass than the old one. And I like it when it's like that. Do you? Yes, because I like to sort it out. Oh. Just remember, variation. I don't know if I can only go by what my speakers are doing. They're playing music. Well, that's a good start, Al. It really is. For one of my videos, it really is a good start. We're actually talking about the actual speakers. And we're not even 20 minutes in. Right. So there seems to be some confusion. So I'm going to tell you with facts and figures who's got the bigger bass. Right. And it's not going to be as straightforward as I thought it was going to be. First of all, just want to go over the differences. I've already said the big difference is the handle. I think that's quite nice. That's quite a nice change. And the solid plastic integrated handle of the other one. Didn't even say JBL. Actually got grills under there for some reason. It looked like Christmas trees. Not even that. Say Christmas trees anymore. I just said it. I'll get cancelled. Right. Don't get political. I don't know why. I'm certainly going this political just because it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Right. Right. The difference is I wrote it down, which is handy for me. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm talking about. Just to say, obviously, it was a 100-watt speaker. But now it's a 100-watt speaker. Oh. So no differences there. Oh, no. That's a disappointment. You'd think, knowing how they come up with these figures for the watts, the watts, that they would massage it in some way. That's what she said. And I said, did again that way. They can make up what they want about the, and this is saying it's what the amp puts out, RMS, blah, 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 and actually measured industry standard, was it IEC or whatever it's, I can't remember. There are standards for measuring this stuff. It's meaningless. However, they say 100 watts before and 100 watts now. I don't know how much the old one is, if you can still buy it, probably get it on eBay, but I'm not seeing it out there at all to actually put down a price. Sometimes they bring out the new one and they're still selling the old one. But I can tell you right now, when I check on Amazon, links are in the description. Yeah, the new one is going to cost you about 250 quid, but hey ho, about $440, which is quite a discrepancy. So I don't know what that's all about. What I can tell you is we used to have a 27 watt hour battery. Now we've got a massive battery. Oh, hang on a sec. It's 35 watt hours. Why I'm disappointed is, see what they're doing now, obviously, they're the upselling. Want you to have removable batteries that you can buy a spare one just on the off chance that you need on the go, because apparently they do come with chargers. I said, don't come with chargers. They do come with chargers. It's almost as though I don't know what I'm talking about, which is off-putting if you're watching this for the first time. Quite a lot of stuff I know what I'm talking about, but there'll always be the odd occasion I don't know what I'm talking about. It's called getting it wrong. Hey, by the way, I get it wrong. Do you know AI? I've been using ChatGPT a lot lately. I realise it actually ain't that clever at all. It's just a scraper, isn't it? So yeah, it's just scraping it, stuff everyone else is putting up, using all their information and still getting it wrong. It's quite disappointing they're calling it AI. Yeah, apparently it's very good for coding and stuff like that. But for general questions, especially if you try asking it, what is the best speaker out there? Basically reading Reddit. Oh my God, that's where it's getting its information from. So about the battery, well, if you don't know, JBL got replaceable batteries, the 200, the 400, and the 600. The 200, 400, and 600. I'm going to check where that was in case it's something really important. No, okay. So you got the smallest battery in here. Is this the smallest speaker you've ever seen? No, but they put the smallest battery in. Do you know why? Because you might not get the Boombox 4 or something like that. So they're still giving you a tiny battery. They could easily have made that a little bit bigger, and you would have put a 400 or 600 in there. But that's JBL. We'll get onto that later. So the difference is got a removable battery and it's slightly bigger, but they still don't want to give you a decent old battery. Would have been the easiest thing in the world to give you a decent battery. I'm turning it around. Do you know why? Because I want to show you the backside. Showing you my backside. Do you know why? It's got a little light. I thought that was quite handy. It's something you wouldn't really expect them to think about, the little things, because they're normally putting features. They're giving you a little light. Which is actually quite useful, because don't forget, this is not just a serious hi-fi speaker, this is also a karaoke. We'll get onto that in a minute. It's a karaoke speaker. You can sing to tunes on it. You may want to go in there and fiddle with it, because you've got an instrument in, which you didn't have on the other one, and you can have a wired mic and stick it in. Oh. And you only have wireless there. It comes with the wireless, but we'll check, because I think there's different deals you can get with one, without, with one, with two, blah, blah, blah. So mine are both with one mic. Oh, well, we're going to get on the differences. I just want to show you that's got a light, and that hasn't got a light. So I'm going to go in order. I almost prepared this time, because I wanted to go over the actual differences between the two and the one. Bluetooth 5.1 is now Bluetooth 5.4. No special pairing thingamajig on the old one, and you could only do stereo with the same model Encore, and no party mode. But on the new one, of course, it's now all singing, all dancing, or Horrorcast, which means unlimited. I want you to tell me, what is the most number of us? Well, you probably has people out there, to be fair, that hook up a lot of JBL Encore speakers, but it doesn't have to be unlimited. 500 would certainly be enough, I would surmise. So Auracast can hook up with any other Auracast speaker, but in terms of backward compatible with Party Boost, it's JBL. What are you expecting? It was only JBL Pro Sound before, but it's now AI Sound Boost. We call it something else, but I won't go there this early in the video. AI Sound Boost, but it doesn't really sound all that clever. We've been talking about this in the past. It seems to have issues, especially when it comes to a lot of electronic music comes with little bits of distortion baked in, because it can sound quite nice when it's well done. However, it seems to me that AI Sound Boost has a problem with that. It's supposed to be dynamic EQ, and they claim all sorts of things. I won't get into that. We've talked about it many times. Just know, if it's AI, it's probably not the cleverest AI there's ever been in the history of the world. So was JBL Pro Sound, now AI Sound Boost. Whether that's a good thing or not, I'll leave it with you. But was USB-A on, so you can stick a dongle in it, and you can play in tracks. I'm not sure if that's just in America, because sometimes they say it's just happens to be in America. I don't know, licensing or whatever. But you could do off a USB-A dongle. You can now do it off a USB-C dongle. I did try, because on the Boombox 4, they didn't say it does USB-C charging. But if you stick it in the USB-C, it does actually charge, but very, very slowly. This one will not charge at all, but a certain charger when you buy it. You're so funny now. Right, that's the difference. blah, blah, blah. Right. It's got lights now. Never mind the tweeters. Oh, by the way, the tweeters are different. I might as well tell you that now. So, this was a surprise to me. On the A-Wing camera, 45.5mm tweeters. Now we've got 20mm tweeters, you know, which is what you'd actually kind of expect. I wonder if that means they had a lower crossover on the ones with the bigger tweeters compared to the new one. But anyway, that is a difference. So the thing was, so we got the lights. It's a party box. We want a party. We got lights on the big woofer, subwoofer, whatever you. Well, it's a woofer on the big woofer, and they are the same size at 135mm. But now it's not happening here. But I'll see if I can get it going. But we've got lights up across there. Well, just noticed it's got some lights on the side. Oh, is that all they've done? Changed it from the sides to the. Well, it actually looks like they had it on the sides, and they got. I was actually thinking that didn't have the lights on the top and the bottom, and that's a massive leap forward. But actually, they just put the LEDs, whatever is, in another place. Oh yeah, JBL. Yeah, done it again. We said about the wireless, and we've got a wired mic now, which you couldn't do before. We've got an instrument in there, you couldn't do that before. In terms of you want to use it as a power bank, because it's really handy, isn't it? To have a power bank that size. You could output at 10 watts on the other one, but on the new one, 22 watts, which is, I suppose, reasonable, but you ain't going to lump that around just for the sake of... But this is the interesting bit. In the specs, they say 6.4 kilos for the new one, and you can see, oh, it's a lot bigger now. It must be way more. And they say 6.25 or 6.3 kilos for the old one. In the real world, on a professional scale, because I used it for my mattresses, 6.2 kilos, 6.25 kilos. This actually weighs less than that. That's never a good sign when it actually weighs less, especially when it's bigger. Why would they claim then in the specs it's heavier? That to me, something ain't right there. Or hang on a sec, did they weigh it when they had a slightly different hardware and well they chopped something out of it, didn't change that, and now we've got slightly less of the speaker than we were supposed to. By the way, they used to say 50 hertz to 20 kilohertz minus 6 dB. So that's pretty good. If it's true, they're now saying 40 to 20 hertz minus 6 dB. They're now suggesting there's been a decent old improvement in the bass. And we started off by talking about half an hour ago, what they're saying on Reddit about which AI loves to scrape and use as solid information. On the specs, it would suggest the bass it has improved. You know, by an extension of another 10 hertz. Could that really be the case? By the way, I measured the latency. It was AAC 180 milliseconds and SBC 110 milliseconds. It's now AAC 224 milliseconds, SBC 130 milliseconds. So as far as I'm concerned, on my testing, and even to the eye, because yes, that's noticeable lip sync. Not so it's 20 hours later, but it's noticeably later. That's a lot worse in terms of lip sync. Obviously got the app. I'm not going to show the app. Do you know why? Because it's going to take long enough as it is. By the way, so in the app, 3-band equalizer. Now got a 7-band equalizer. The problem with their 7-band equalizer is not, Soundcore style, even Tribbett and the likes. W King. You got no control below 125 hertz. So the lowest slider is 125 hertz, and then it'll move everything up. It will move the lower bits up a bit more, but it all hinges at 125. So because we know the JBL like to do their sculpting, that's sort of no use to smooth out their bass. We know they sculpt out upper bass for the sake of a boosted deeper bass. And it's the same in the highs, but that's not such an issue. An issue in the highs. They claim up to 10 hours on the old one, dependent on volume and audio content. I hope they standardize their testing. They never tell us how they test these. So assuming standardized testing, they're saying 15 hours now, which would be, is that plausible? It's gone from a, 27 to a 34 watt hour battery, which is not huge, and yet they're claiming a 50% improvement in playtime. I mean, what can I say? Bluetooth transmitter power went from 9 dBm to 16 dBm, so that is good. Is this bigger? Oh yeah, oh yeah. I spent 4 hours looking for the old logo on the JBL, and apparently it was that little speck there was the logo, but now it's boom! It's huge. It's huge. That's what she said. No surprise there. But it could be lots of space for a bigger logo. But hey, huge improvement in the logo. Where they make improvements, I'm going to point it out. Well, it's the same functionality, except that before for the lights, you scroll through to change, and at some point it will just turn them off, and then you scroll through. But now it's a straight on and off, and then you scroll through with a dial, which, I mean, in functionality terms, I suppose that's an improvement, but it's something that surprises me, because they've had to pay for another dial, that's why. So you got, on the old one, on the top, where you can get to them, you've got your echo and your mic volume, which you've still got, but you also had, for your mic, your bass and your bass and treble controls. You've lost those completely. No bass and control on the top, and no, there was nothing under the flap. They'd probably argue, well, nobody used it anyway, that's fine. What I'm saying is, you've lost some functionality. You'd never know it was JBL, would you? So you got, no mic gain control, but we've got gain control, both the mic and for your instruments if you use the instrument in. And talking about karaoke, by the way, take your pick, but I have to tell you, the old mic, 270 grams, the new one, 203 grams. Noticeably lighter in the hand. That's not a good sign if you are seriously into your karaoke. That suggests that maybe it's not such a good mic anymore. The signal to noise ratio on the old one, 65 decibels or greater. On the new one, 59 decibels or greater. So that is not a forward step in that. So the mic appears to be somewhat worse. Those are the main differences. I'm going to get straight in with no mucking about. Straight into the testing. Right. So I measured the straight frequency response. So in default mode on the Encore 2, you'll get a bit more deep bass punch. You might not realise that has come at the cost of some upper bass, but overall mids and highs are a bit smoother, a bit more balanced than they were before, but it's marginal. If you look at the actual headroom now between Encore 1, Encore 2, it's marginal. We seem to have a bit more in the mids into the highs, and it seems a bit more even in the mids and the highs. But it's a small difference, and the biggest difference is they've given you a bit more deep bass punch at the cost of not insubstantial mid and upper bass. In other words, same headroom, different tuning. Deep EQ, it's the same story. There is a bit more deep bass, but it's really about how they've tuned it now, because there's really no extra headroom. They've had to remove some mid and upper bass to give you a bit more of the deep bass punch. In other words, it's now less balanced in the bass, but you've got a bit more in the deep bass punch. You do have a bit more evenness in the mids and the highs now. And then punchy EQ, sort of the same old story, but if it's the upper bass punch that you're going for, they're basically the same now. You'll see you've just got a bit more of the deeper bass punch, even though it's punchy EQ. And in terms of ultimate headroom, as you can see, when push comes to shove, there is a little bit more in terms of mid bass punch, but spot the difference. They've had to reduce some of the mids and the highs, so they have just retuned it. In terms of the difference between the EQs, there will be no difference to the mids and the highs. It will be all about the bass. And as you can see, punchy bass is massive upper bass EQ. The deep bass gives you more focus at the 50 Hertz region, and default bass is simply a bit of a reduction over the deep bass, because you can't even say, well, it's more even. They've just got less mid bass, less upper bass, and less deep bass. They could have used the extra headroom that they've clearly got if you look at the deep bass mode, and made it a bit smoother, a little less in that narrow deep bass region and a bit more in the mid bass and upper bass. That would have been handy. Ultimate headroom, and you can see the EQs work out exactly the same, even at maximum volume, except that we are losing now some upper bass, so they can maintain the deeper bass of the deep bass EQ. And in terms of against the Encore 1, it's just different tuning. You will notice the control at low volumes is much greater than you get at high volumes. Certainly seen it a lot worse in terms of little control. In other words, like 60%, you've almost got no more volume above that. You've got some control, but most of the control is at the lower volumes. The sound looks pretty linear, so sometimes we get a massive roll-off in the bass, like even from 50%, 60% for sure, 80% you'd expect a roll. So the relative bass to the mids and highs is pretty linear all the way through. That's good. But in terms of the overall, I mean, it was already pretty well balanced, to be fair. The mids and highs were pretty well, I mean, it's slightly wavy, but it really is within their, I say plus or minus 3 decibels, as they've written it, minus 6 decibels. Apart from, you know, how they scoop that old bass, then I would suggest it's not quite within that range, but pretty balanced, really. It just looks like a little bit, so it looks like they've sacrificed a little bit of upper bass for a bit more in the deeper bass, and you got a little bit more in the mids and highs. We got used to that from the AI sound boost. If it's doing anything, it's certainly trying to eke out a little bit more in the mids and highs, and then people say, "Oh, but it goes louder now," so it must be miles better. But it's just that they've just pushed it a bit more than they did before. It appears to be. It's clearly not the same. The hardware has changed, the tweeter size. But in terms of, I know, the guts of it, the amp, I don't know if it's changed or what, but it appears the guts of the speaker is exactly the same, and they've tuned it slightly different. If you're expecting, I mean, you probably already know because it's been out for months. I just decided to do the video. I actually bought this months ago. Never got around to it. Bored. Yeah, so actually, let's actually listen to it. If you don't know. So we've got 3 modes. We've got, they call, well, before it was just EQ. Now they're calling it signature mode, and then you can add some bass boost. Basically, you've got 3 modes: signature mode, and then signature with. There are other modes if you go to the app. We'll get to that. You've got signature mode, and then you've got signature mode with deep bass boost and a deep bass, and then with the punchy. Well, you already saw that because I showed you the frequency response measurements, and the lights just as before will come on to tell you where you are. I don't know, why can't they do another colour? Just do another colour. This is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous that the difference, that you've got to know that how much brighter it's supposed to be. It's fine when it's off, but the difference between deep bass, it's slightly on light, and then much lighter. Different colour or different button. What's the issue? Instead of putting the dial there to scroll through the lights, just do it like with one button that we had before, and the money you saved on that, put another LED of a different colour in there. Right, let me just go, what you already said, just have a listen to the difference between the 3 different ways you can play in default mode, sort of bass boosted.
Now we're free. Let's take our time and let's get wild. We can finally breathe and sing along with me. Oh, brother, passing through the fire. Understood you're strong inside and how I really care. Oh, lover, we still love each other. Come on, let's leave the stays behind and let's try again.
So signature mode is the balance mode. Deep mode gives you more deep bass, but in the real world you're losing upper bass. And punchy mode, it's a big old upper bass and a little bit of mid bass boost at the cost of some of the deep bass. Relative to the original track, you can see default is quite balanced with a bit of a peak for the deeper bass. And the mids and the highs are also pretty well balanced if you bear in mind it's within basically the 3 dB plus or minus that we look for across the frequency range.
What I have noticed, it will be a theme all the way along, is pure frequency response measurements with a measurement mic, you know, straight on, is not corresponding to real world tracks, bass heavy tracks, where the dynamic EQ and stuff is kicking in. It works out a bit different. So you do lose upper bass when you go for deeper bass, and basically the punchy does exactly what you'd expect. But the others, it's slightly different. Where they boost from and where they start rolling off from is different in the real world than in a frequency response measurement. So those are the modes. We basically knew that, but there is the difference, and they are real differences. And it only affects the bass from 400 hertz down. Doesn't touch the mids and the highs like some people would do. A lot of people like punchy. To me, punchy always sounds a bit weird and hollow, but that's just me. I'm a deep bass fan. They say not boosted. I like deep bass. I don't like upper bass, especially when it's boosted. It just makes it sound hollow, and it bleeds into the mids, and that's why it sounds hollow. But it's going to be a matter of taste. In the real world, if you want the most balanced sound, it's going to be signature mode. It is really reasonably balanced, but just give us a balanced mode. They go to all this trouble. Why don't they want to give us a balanced mode? I could do without the upper bass. I like a fuller bass, even if it's got less deep bass punch. Just make it a proper. There's headroom there to give us a proper balanced bass, but they don't. It's just levels of, they're. I don't know. It's not a passive, by the way. It's ported. I don't know where it's tuned. I didn't test it, but that's where they seem to push it most, and that's where you get your deep bass push, and but you lose upper bass and they do their sculpting. Anyway, you want to know what it's? This is all about the differences. If anybody's watching 6 months later, if you just want to work out if Reddit are right or wrong, according to me, anyway, against the Encore one.
Now we're free. Let's take our time and let's get wild. We can finally breathe and sing along with me. Oh, brother, blasting through the fire. Understood you're strong inside and how I really care. Oh, lover, we still love each other. Come on, let's leave the stays behind and let's try again. Now we're free. Let's take our time and let's get wild.
loudness matched Encore 2, it does have the deeper bass, it loses a tad in the upper bass, and they're pretty well matched mids and highs. Deep bass mode, a bit of a surprise. When they're normalized, the Encore one, it's got more deep bass. In fact, it's got more upper bass as well. Pretty matched mids and highs. Note, I'm loudness matching these. So if you played them relative, so volume for volume, 50% for 50%, you can see from the mids and the highs, the Encore 2 plays louder, and that's fooling you into thinking it's got a bit more deep bass. Even then, it's losing in the upper bass. But when you match them for the loudness, you find actually Encore 1 has got the deeper and the bigger upper bass. This is a surprise because that's not what the strength frequency response showed. As you can see, this is not normalized. This is 50% for 50%. And that gave us deeper bass advantage for the Encore 2 at the cost of some upper bass. But in the real world, playing a real world track with limiters and EQ in effect, that's not what happens. The Encore 2 plays louder, just enough so you think it's got more deep bass. But in the real world, if you was able to play them at the same loudness, you'd find the Encore 1 has more deep bass. It's the same story again when it comes to punchy. When you actually do a fair loudness comparison, the Encore 1 has the most bass. See a lot of comments about it's got better mids and highs. And to a degree, I would say that about the Encore 2. But a lot of that is also down to they're just stronger. They both have balanced mids and highs to an extent, but still those peaks and dips within that range are different. So that's why they do sound different. And depending on the tracks you will play, that's what I found going from different tracks. Depending on the track and where the tuning actually fits, even though they're pretty well balanced for this type of speaker, one will sound more forward than the other, especially in the mids. I actually do think that the Encore 2 presents in a fuller, almost wider way. It's just got that one woofer. But I couldn't really say one is better than the other. I think it just comes down to the tracks I particularly play, and it's going to come down to the tracks you play. But it was noticeable to me that there is the dynamic EQ. There's some real stuff going on here that ain't fair. So when I normalize, I play them, I get them as close as I can in the real world in loudness terms, and a little bit of difference I do balance for in my recordings to make it fair, to actually see what the actual real world differences are. However, I noticed that when in a frequency response where they're playing volume step for volume step, they're basically at the same loudness. It ain't the same in the real world. The mids and the highs are stronger on the Encore 2, and it seems to me it's doing that for reasons that that's how it's managing to present more bass. So that was loudness matched, and even then there's a bit more bass on the Encore 1 in that deep bass mode. So what I'm going to do is let you hear my actual original raw recording, which is 50%, 50%, and then also and you can hear the difference when actually loudness matched them, but you'll hear the relative difference and why it's kind of unfair when it comes to ABs.
Through the fire, understood you're strong inside, and now I really care. Oh, lover, we still love each other. Come on, let's leave the stage behind and let's try again.
When you see those comparisons on YouTube and they put them on the table or whatever they're doing, and they have them both at 50%, it certainly will favour the Encore 2 in an unfair way, because the mids and highs are playing louder. It's going to make it sound more dynamic anyway. And by playing it louder, it's allowing the bass, certainly the deeper bass, to appear to be or sound as though there's more there than the Encore 1. But in reality, when they're playing proper loudness for loudness, it's advantage to the Encore 1, especially in that deep bass mode. So you can take it or leave it. Look, the differences are very small. And note the scale on these graphs. It's very small. The difference between the adjustment was 1.7 decibels going from the raw recording to getting them loudness match, which is kind of significant, but it's not that much that you would probably really understand what's going on in the real world when you try and hear these comparisons and all they're doing is playing them at the same volume step. Then it's advantage to the Encore 2, when in reality it's not. It's Encore 1 that's got the advantage. So let's push them. Let's push to 75%, and I'm going to, because of this issue, I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or not, but it ain't to the disadvantage of the Encore 2 to make it appear there's more bass there. I'm going to let you hear it both relative, that means volume step for volume step, and then normalized, the little bit of normalizing I normally do when I do my speaker comparisons to make it fair.
She dancing on my dick and also shaking ass. The boogie tried down right to me and broke and shook my head. Stupid slut, she dancing on my dick and also shaking dick and also shaking ass.
Signature mode straight, volume level for straight, volume level 75%. You're going to hear a bit more deep bass on the Encore 2. It's coming at the cost, as usual, of upper bass, but it's playing louder. Look at the mids, the more prominent mids, the more prominent highs. When we loudness match them, it's advantage to the Encore 1. Deep bass, play them relative same volume step. You think you've got a tad more deep bass on the Encore 2, more upper bass on the Encore 1. If you loudness match them, it's game over for the Encore 1. At these louder volumes, as usual, these speakers cannot match bass boosted bass, but overall you can see it's still pretty balanced for the two of them, but the Encore 1 does the better job of matching the bass overall. Punchy bass, relative, there's not a lot of difference really between the two modes, relative or normalized, and both are a win for the Encore 1.
My track has... Look, it's always I don't get so many of the audiophiles. I used to get loads of audiophiles, so-called self-claimed, to come on and have a go at me, blah, blah. But one of the comments that still goes on is about, oh, you play terrible music and all that. First of all, I won't get into the debate of who gets to declare what music is good or bad. But the tracks are deliberately chosen, A, because they're copyright free, and B, because they're strong, more or less, across the whole frequency response. They are bass boosted because I'm testing speakers in the shortest amount of time because I have a real life. And I want to, if there's issues, I want to force those issues out, but still balanced. So when I come to, it's no good having tracks that, say, got a massive a recess, say, in all the mids altogether, because you're not going to hear the issues in it. So I like, it needs to be playing, to hear the issues in a speaker, it needs to be playing, all, as far as possible, all the frequencies at the same time, like it's doing in the real world. So that's why my tracks are reasonably balanced across the frequency response. That's the point. They are bass boosted, and hey, I actually personally enjoy these tracks. So it's blinking ridiculous, actually, some of the comments I get. It's fine. We've all got taste, and we say, I like that, don't like that, but you can't. It's bad music. You know, these people are the ones that I've got. I know I've got DJs, and I've got people who play real instruments in the real world who watch my videos. I know how many are left. And by the way, we're back to 18. We've had another one, self-declare. He is going to be watching all videos moving forward, back to 18. And so I don't want to say, so I can't say it's the people who play real instruments that have an ear for that, and they suddenly say all electronic music, it's not as though they don't use electronic music. I mean, they're using amplification that's doing things anyway. But hey, but my point being, this argument between real instruments and not. Music is music. Music is anything that makes a sound, by the way. But I just think it's a bit weird. A, they don't realise why I play the particular tracks that I play, and that I understand you want to hear in isolation a certain, because that's what you listen to in the real world. I can't do that, you know, because this is an hour and a half video already. You must understand. I ain't like all the other reviewers. I'm not knocking anybody apart from, that geezer, Jay-Z Yagi. Why? Because I can say blatantly he's a liar. You can't say things like that. I can. Because I know he's lied and carried on lying about me over 2 years, denying something happened, which I've got absolute concrete evidence of and did the videos on. So I will call him out. Whereas, everyone is doing their own thing. That's fine. And the other one who called me a clown for pointing out his ridiculous sound call video. Patrick Shambles. He's the other one I call him out because he insulted me when there was no reason. But anyway, I won't get into that. You just said, yeah, but only two of them. Right. So there we go. So relative and normalized. I was going to say. So that was at the point where I was getting on to. There is some inherent distortion used in that particular track. I have noticed that the ones that come, say that, I don't know, if probably the same bloody thing anyway, JBL Pro Sound, but the ones labeled AI Sound Boost all seem to have this inherent issue that when there's a little bit of distortion already in the track, they don't seem to know what to do with it. It's actually getting enhanced. I could hear that in by the way, a lot of people say, I heard a bit of distortion. Always go and check the original track so you understand what it should sound like. You should play it out. As I'm saying, already enough. You know, I'm making these videos because I'm trying to understand what other people are arguing about, and that's why it's as ridiculously long and as involved as it is. That's all I'm doing. I'm trying to answer the blinking questions myself about the bass. So AI Sound Boost, to me, it seems like if there's already distortion, makes it worse. I think it's worse on the 2, certainly, than the 1. But you're going to have to listen for it. So signature mode, the Encore 2 has slightly more deep bass, but loses upper bass, which is what they do. In other words, there's no actual headroom. They're just changing things on the fly. It's being retuned. But when you normalize them, the Encore 1. But when you do it fair, loudness for loudness, the Encore 1 has the most bass. But the Encore 2 certainly has the strongest highs, which people seem to like. Just know it's a particular area. It's going to affect different tracks differently. Same with the deep bass. That was signature deep bass, exactly the same. As soon as you actually normalize them properly, the Encore 1 has more bass. Encore 2 has the stronger highs, and that's basically the theme. In punchy mode, Encore 1, either way, has the most bass. It's got the most bass. We're already pushing it, 75%, which is probably where most people are going to push it to. Encore 1 has the most bass. Hey, it's close. You're going to have to listen for it. You're going to have to measure for it. And that's close enough that I could say it may even be within margin of error of the differences you're going to get with the speakers anyway. Maybe that's partly why there's so many arguments going on. But we know these speakers are so close that the differences will come down to the speaker variations as they come off the production line. Just know when you are saying mids and highs are better on the Encore 2, a lot of the time if you're comparing speaker for speaker, it's just playing louder. It's a well-known trick. I did put down, overall, I thought they're both balanced in mids and highs, but overall, I think the Encore 2 is slightly more balanced now. But it's close. It's close. And I'm only hearing that when I do a direct A/B. So what is the real world headroom? Why don't you put the EQ to maximum? Just know you never get more bass. You're just going to start changing the mids and highs when you do that. So it doesn't really matter using EQ or not using EQ for maximum volume. So the real headroom at maximum volume.
Tell me what you want, here's what you got. Humans every day, more than we have ever seen. Rock's not dead, don't ask why. She said the rock is dead. Tell me what you want, here's what you got. Humans every day, more than we have ever seen. Rock's not dead, don't ask why.
three modes. It's quite close on the Encore 2, but it's punchy mode that lacks the deeper bass that allows you to go louder overall. And then it's neck and neck between signature and deep bass. Against the Encore 1, it's a shocker. While the Encore 2 plays louder because it's got stronger mids and highs, the Encore 1 holds on to more bass, apart from a tad of the deeper bass. But overall, signature mode, although 1 decibel quieter, total bass, it's a decibel advantage to the Encore 1. The Encore 2 just slightly better in terms of dynamics. Deep bass mode, again, basically, apart from a tad of the deeper bass, it's an advantage to the Encore 1, even though it's not playing as loud because it's got weaker mids and highs. Both of them are loudest in punchy mode, but no surprises now. It's the Encore 1 that outpunches the Encore 2. It's the Encore 2, though, that is strongest in the mids and the highs and has slightly better dynamics.
So obviously, punchy bass is the loudest mode for both these speakers. The Encore 2, it does go louder. And do you know how it's managing to go louder? It's got less bass.
Oh my God, stop, bro, I'm stuck. Can you help me?
So lots of trickery going on depending on what volume and what mode you play at lower volumes. You may or not perceive a difference or more bass now on the Encore 2 because it plays louder anyway at the same volume step. But it's just retuned. I don't know what the guts are, but you'd assume the guts are the same because it's literally just retuned. They've actually gone for a bit more volume. I guess that was what you want at maximum volume, but you're just getting it with the mids and highs. But most people are picking up these party boxes expecting an improvement in the bass, and even at maximum volume, you want to hear the bass. If you want to hear the bass, it won't go quite as loud, but you'll have more bass on the Encore 1. That's my finding. As I said, could be within speaker variation, and it's blinking close. So yeah, so we know that they don't want to give a big battery on these PARTYBOX because it's cutting in, because they're pretty decent. This is a pretty balanced speaker and it's got a reasonably deep bass. It could be more balanced than it is. Just give us a balanced option. You've got all these options in the app, in the chill mode or jazz mode, all these silly things. But they don't want to give the game away and give a balanced mode and balance out the bass. A bit more upper bass, a bit less in the deep bass, and actually because it's playing pretty balanced anyway. So I liked when it was one of the first speakers, the Encore 1, that I said, you know, this is now reasonable value from JBL, which is it's a huge deal. Still remains decent value, but not if you want the biggest bass ever, because it still remains quite well balanced. But there's a definite bass kick. It's probably not really going to make your neighbours move out, but certainly enough that your mum might complain or something like that. So it can certainly got a kick, but it's not going all the way down the road. The clue is it's probably half the size of what you'd expect a party box to be. It's got the karaoke functions. Why don't you do the karaoke? No, not in the mood. It's already long enough. Maybe I'll do a separate video, but just know the... Oh, has it come on? Yes. Hello? Oh, yeah, it's already on. I think the gods are calling to me. Should we just try a bit of karaoke? I don't think this is going to work. In fact, that's the... Hang on a second. What's happening? This is... Oh, it's coming out there. It's coming out... Oh, it's coming out the other one. Can we do it at the same time? Let's try this. Hello? Oh, I can do that. Hello? That's gone now then. That's gone. All right, just get them volumes the same. So we'll do the mic volume. The mic volume. The mic volume. Mic, you there? Mic? No, that's a bit of Mike, you there? You there, Mike? Mike. That sounds about right. Oh, let's have a look at feedback. Well, that's the old one, isn't it? Oh. Oh yeah, it's quite directional. I remember that. Yeah. This is certainly less directional. I turned it off and I don't. One. You got to be right there. You got to be. No, don't go there, Al. Yeah, got to be. You've got to get the angle just right, but you don't have to get the angle. I've turned it off again. This is really annoying. You know what? The button is so and it's so light, so easy to hit. Let's do it that way. Oh yeah, it's got this thing on it. I've never quite worked out. Looks like you're allowed to hook it somewhere. I never quite worked out. So. Well, it's a one for the morning.
All it's warm for the morning.
That sounds slightly more compressed.
Hello?
Hello? It's not even the same volume. Just know they both work. I actually, having knocked the mic on, I think this is more practical than the real one. I think the new one is less directional. Should we actually try a bit of karaoke? Have a quick go. Have this, me neighbours are in. What was I going to do with neighbours in? But it just seems that the gods are saying, do it, Al. Hang on a sec. Or someone said, and he turns away and you can't even hear what he's saying. Do you know, life ain't all about what you want. Hang on a sec. Karaoke. Let's have a look. So when you're going to do the new one, because I prefer the mic on the new one, just turn that off.
There's no need to explain anymore. I tried my best to love you. Now I'm walking out the door. You use me, you deceive me, but you never seem to need me. And I bet you won't forgive me when I go.
I wasn't expecting that. Do not judge me on that. Right, so that's basically it. Having slagged off the mic, I actually prefer the mic on the new one, to be fair. It's probably the quality is not there, but in practical use, I would say that's better. Simply because the feedback was not too bad, and it's not so directional, which is ridiculous for a karaoke mic. Because you're probably pissed when you're doing it. By the way, pissed, it just means you're drunk in the UK. In the USA, I think it means you're not happy and stuff like that. So just say, they really gave it to us. They really gave it to us, JBL. They called it the Encore 2. In some ways it's better. But when you've got the Encore 1, you expect to be able to upgrade to the Encore 2. You'd have to be absolutely bonkers, because it's the same speaker in terms of sound with a little bit of different tuning. Which is why I say, JBL, I'm giving it to you large, and I'm giving them my Vaseline award. Why the Vaseline now? Because what JBL are doing to you, you're going to need some for safety reasons. So JBL, get my Vaseline award. Yes, it's the first one I've ever awarded. And I just thought, it just seems appropriate. So there you go. My Vaseline moment, the JBL, it could be another brand at another time. There's nothing against JBL. In its own way, the Encore 2 is a value speaker. It's reasonably balanced, and if you actually like decent music anyway, but you want to have some fun, not a bad buy at 250 quid. And now $440, I don't know why it's $440 in the US. That's a bit pricey. But 250 quid, given what you pay for a speaker these days, I think that's very good value, I have to say. Very good value. It's just a shame that they're getting the Vaseline award. What they're doing with the battery, it's a removable battery. Just make the back could have been a little bit bigger, and we could have had the 400 or the 600. I don't know. Well, just standardise it. Why not put the 600 in all of them now? A speaker of this size, protecting the cells and other speakers. Anyway, that's been my Encore 1 versus the Encore 2. 6 months later, or it was 7 months later, whatever, when it came out, I've done it. I said I'd do it. Well, did I? Yeah, I said to myself I'm going to do this, and I've done it. And I'll probably do another video another day, but who knows? I don't know. I don't know myself what I'm doing tomorrow when I get up. I get up and I say, oh, no, I've decided what I'm going to do. That's the way my life is going at the moment. Thank you for watching. At least 18 of you. I don't know for sure. You're assuring me you're watching. And as I said, without you 18, this all would be pointless. So thank you. For all the 18 self-declared. I hope to see you again in another video with a clickbait wig.
What the f*** was that?
It comes from China.
My speaker's got deep bass, balanced mids, and a bright high.
Yes, mine sounds exactly the same.